Hi, Si here from Music Radar. We're at NAMM 2020. This is the ASM booth, sorry. We got Dominic here and Glenn. These guys both designed the Hydrasynth, which is right here. Of course, you guys have done a firmware update. Talk us through what you've kind of put into the new firmware update.
So, great. I'll talk about our 1.3 firmware update first.
Yeah.
So what we did, the most major thing is the MPE support. So now we can have MPE controllers controlling our engine, and at the same time we can have this controlling other MPE like sound modules, synthesizers. So now for the MPE you can do in the mod matrix.
Okay.
So let's say, so if you assigned in the mod sources, you can have MPE, a few parameters from it. Say for MPE X, it's like the pitch band. So for example, if you have a rolling C board, this sliding on the left and right is the pitch control. And then you have the Y control. Y is this depth control. We have both absolute and relative. So for absolute, if you press on the bottom, it's 0. And then you push over to 127.
Yeah.
For relative, if you're whenever whichever place you press, it's the 0, and it starts from that part. And there's also the off velocity. So if your instrument or controller supports off velocity, you can have that mapped into this in the motor matrix,
cool.
And you can map to whatever you want in this destination.
Oh, brilliant.
So we had made decision on making the pressure right directly to control the polyphonic aftertouch.
Yeah.
Because we thought of that, if we split them, it might be more confusing, and we want users to have MPE controllers plugged in right away, and they can control our patches with polyphonic aftertouch. So it's like plug and play.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
The update's available now.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So
Yeah,
it is available on our
Yeah,
website
brilliant.
already.
Okay, so for some of our readers and viewers that are not quite familiar with the Hydrasynth, could you give us kind of an overview of what is going on with the architecture behind everything here?
Sure. So the Hydrasynth is a all-digital synthesizer. It's a wave-morphing synthesizer. So one big major thing for us is the polyphonic aftertouch,
Yeah.
the expressiveness of it, with the ribbon controller, as you can see, and we have wheels. And as it is a wave-morphing synthesizer, we have wave table ability in oscillators.
Yeah.
So as you can see in module select, is a signal flow here. So direct, and we have 3 oscillators. All of them can do single cycle waves, and the first 2 you can do wave table.
Sure.
So if I select wave scan, I can select up to 8 slots of waves.
Yeah.
So we have a collection of up to 219 of waveforms
Right.
to choose from
In the box.
in the box. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So in each slot you can load in waveforms, and you can also pre-listen on each one, and to know what you're doing,
Yeah.
where you are. And after you load in 8 slots, let's say, or stuffed in now, and you can scan between them. So it's a smooth morphing
Yeah.
between each waveforms. So of course this parameter can be modulated. So it is open in the mod matrix. You can use it right away, say from MPE controls or
Yeah.
envelope, LFO, or even CV inputs here.
Yeah.
And so that's the wave scan mode. So let's get to the mutants. For oscillator 1 and 2, each of them have a pair of mutants.
Yeah.
So what's mutants here is you have up to 7 algorithms to choose from.
Okay.
So you have linear FM,
Yeah.
you have wave stack, is like unison, you detune them, and one split to 5 voices.
Right. Cool.
And you have oscillator sync, you can sync from itself or from other sources, other oscillators. And we have 3 types of pulse width modulations. So a typical one and a squeeze. It squeezes the waveform and get an interesting sound.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. And we have a pulse width ASM mode. So it splits the wave into 8 sections, and each section has its own pulse width modulation.
Wow,
So
okay.
each
Alright,
of this
yeah.
point can be modulated as
Wow,
well.
okay.
So it's like crazy wave shaping thing
Yeah,
happening.
right. And that's just on one.
One algorithm
One
here
algorithm,
only,
yeah.
yeah. And to note that is there's a dry wet, so it can happen in parallel.
Right.
So you can maintain the dry signal while adding
And a little
up
bit of that
stuff.
for all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
And then we have a harmonic sweep, so you can emphasize the harmonics through the series. And this is
each bank, is it so the same amount of control for each mutant bank, as it were? Is that it?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So this can be even like copied after you build up like unison, and you can copy this mutant one into the mutant 2 for settings to quickly indicate.
Yeah.
So
if your mind wasn't blown at mutant 1, you can blow it even more on mutant 2 and morph the sound even further.
yeah, so for even crazier unison, you can do unison in voice and add up on mutants for unison,
Yeah, cool.
stacking up. And yeah, these are the mutants. And after this, we have the ring noise. So we have ring, and you can select sources from almost all sources, like oscillator, mutants, noise, and even incoming audio signal.
All right, cool.
So, and then we have noise signal, and all feed into the mixer. So in mixer, we have panning for each source. So here's the level, and then we have the panning. So you can say hard pan oscillator 1 to left and hard pan oscillator 2 to right, and do some crazy stereo things here.
Yeah.
And then besides panning, we have filter ratio control. So for each source, for example, if you want to feed half of the signal to filter 1, you set it to 50-50. So you have half to filter 1 and half to filter 2. So we have filtered 2 filters here. So the filters can be placed both in series or in parallel. Yeah. So let's talk about the filters. We have up to 11 types of filters within the filter 1. So we have ladder filters, 12 dB, 24 dB, and ladder filters with compensation on the low end. And then we have LPG, MS-20s, both low pass and high pass.
Yeah.
And then we have Thriller. Thriller is an interesting Euro rack module.
Right.
So it's very aggressive sounding. It's worth getting one.
Then you got the bypass and high pass.
Yep. And then we have a Foreman filter. So it is fun to play with. You can even like rearrange the vowel order here.
Oh yeah.
So we have a real-time indication on how it sounds like. So yeah, that's the Foreman filter. And then we have filter 2. So filter 2 is like more like an ASM type of morphing control. So it's flexible. So you can morph it between low pass, band pass, and then high pass. So it's good to be flexible that you can make more variations in the sounds, especially with parallel and series. You can have a lot of things feeding into the amp. So after the amp, we have the effects section. So pre-effects and post-effects are like identical. It's like what you can do are the same, like in Mutant 1, 2, 3, 4. So within them, you have chorus, flanger, rotary, phaser, lo-fi, tremolo, EQ, and compressor. So EQ is handy, so you can tame some frequencies there or boost them. And for compressor, we have sidechain. So you can do sidechaining by BPM, or you can manually tap the sidechain to like a rhythm, or even you can like just feed in a drum signal in and use that to duck it. So between the pre-effects and post-effects, you have the flexibility to add in delay and reverb, and all of these effects are able to do parallel, so you have dry-wet control. So it's quite handy. Delay, we have different types. After the delay, you have the reverb, and reverb we have hall, room, plate to cloud. So it's pretty good sounding, and even the parameters within these effects modules can be modulated. So it's you can use this to really tweak your sound.
Yeah.
And another thing about the 1.3 firmware update, we have the warm mode. So the warm mode is located within the voice module. Sure. So if you turn this on, what it does is there's a frequency controlling right after the amp. So it's like a little bit rolling off the high end and boosting the low end to give you the like the typical warmer synthesizer sound. More flexibility is good.
Cool.
And let's talk about the envelope and LFO. So which the envelopes can work as LFO. So you can loop them for certain times or even infinite.
Right.
And then you can have LFOs to work like envelope, so to do one-shot things.
Yeah.
So for LFO, you have different types of shapes, like different saw, up, down, square, pulse, and we have sample and hold, and noise random, and we have stepping. Okay. So LFO can be synced to BPM.
Yeah.
And by doing the step edit, you can immediately get rhythmic results, for example, controlling the filter cutoff, and you can smoothen it, or even modulate this in real time, the step of it, to get some odd timing.
Yeah.
So we're still not going into the Arpeggiator yet even. So envelope, we have curve control, so you have the flexibility. So to get the sound to your taste. So that's it for this section. Let's talk about Arpeggiator.
Yes.
So that you can see we put quite a lot of controls of Arpeggiator on this interface because it's a good performing section.
Ups are cool. Everyone loves ups, man. They need more control. I'm loving this.
Great. I would say besides performing, it is actually good in sound designing because you can get crazy.
Yeah.
Like most of the parameters within the Arpeggiator can be modulated.
Right. Okay.
So you can do like LFO modulating the mode, modulating the octave, the chance and ratchet.
Yeah.
So you can make it really fast and crazy to make the sound totally different out of it.
Yeah.
So for ratchet and chance, it is like repeating the step.
Okay.
So if you play the Arpeggiator for the step to repeat itself by chance, so the rate of step, repeating how many times, it is determined by the ratchet value.
Gotcha.
And the chance of happening is obviously controlled here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
0 to 100%. Okay, catch it.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So the really interesting thing in the Arpeggiator is the modulating possibilities of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Like it.
So there's the Polyphonic Aftertouch. So say. You can hear that by using the Polyphonic Aftertouch, you can even do arpeggiated stuff by pressing into it and adding pressure to it. So even you can do like LFO manually. So like this. So we think that this expressiveness is important on the synthesizer to make it really an instrument to be great. Yeah. And there's a ribbon here. We have few modes. So obviously we have a pitch bend. And meantime, you can have the ribbon mapped to modulate other things as well.
Yeah.
And you can have a theremin, so it will reserve one voice into the theremin. You can play something here. So they're like working separately.
Yeah.
And you can even quantize the scale and the key in the ribbon.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yes.
Awesome. I'm loving like the very intuitive the way you've set out the interface, because you can see the signal chain and then you instantly can dive in and you know where you are. Yeah. And the visual feedback is brilliant. Like, I love this. Well, Dominic, thank you so much for showing us how Hydrasynth works and obviously the new firmware update as well.
Thank you very much,
brilliant.
Simon.
Cheers for that. Please like, subscribe, comment and share wherever you're seeing this video right now. Please check out musicradar.com for all the latest NAMM 2020 news when we have it. So we'll be seeing you soon. Cheers.